What's going on, everybody? I'm Jory Goodman, the Time Teller. It's time for another unboxing and review. Now, I'm super excited about today's review because we're going to be taking a look at a watch from a company that in all my years being the Time Teller, over 2 years, I've never had one of their watches on my channel. And it's kind of funny because these watches are super duper accessible, they're very affordable, and this company is very, very prolific in the watch world. So I'm not quite sure why I haven't had one of their watches on my channel, but a bunch of you guys, I have a feeling it's probably from some of my newer subscribers. They've requested a certain watch from this company that starts with T. Timex. That's right, guys, takes a licking and keeps on ticking, right? Well, we're gonna find out today how I feel about this Timex. Now, if some of you guys that have written to me are watching this review right now, you already know what's in the box because you asked me specifically to take a look at this watch. You said it was right up my alley. You said that I would love it. You said this would be my new favorite. Well, I guess time will tell. Get it? This is a watch channel. Anyway, I'm wearing my Certina DS2 Chronolympic. Very, very special watch to me. This watch was given to me by my dad. This was a watch that was given to him when he graduated school. It is 12:15 p.m. Let's get down to business. Alright guys, moment of truth. Let's finally take a look at a Timex on the Time Teller channel. Please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit that bell icon because it helps us out a bunch, and let's tear into it. Alright, the packaging, pretty standard. Again, this watch is under $50, so I'm not expecting anything super duper crazy extravagant when we're talking about packaging. Here it is. Oh, there's kind of a little scuff on the lens there. I hope it's just a smudge. Let me bring you up closer. Ooh, I hope that is just a smudge. Okay guys, well herein lies the excitement of unboxings. You never quite know what you're gonna get, or whatever Forrest Gump says. Anyway, this is the Timex Expedition Field Chronograph, and a lot of you guys said that I should check this out because I love field watches, and this is going to be my new affordable favorite. Some of you even said to forget about the Orient Defender because this is the watch I should be paying attention to. Well, I guess we're gonna see, but something that's frustrating is right out of the box, immediately, I noticed this up here, and then potentially a scuff going across this subdial. I hope it's just a smudge, but it is noticeable enough that I saw it right when I opened the package. Let me get a microfiber. I have one in this drawer. Okay, moment of truth, guys, moment of truth. Drum roll, please. Oh, it was just a smudge. It was just a smudge, guys. We're good to go. Alrighty, well now that that's out of the way, the Timex Expedition Field Chronograph. You guys told me I would really love this watch because it does look tough. It is kind of field watchy, maybe even a bit tactical with that black case, the dark dial, the patinated indexes. And I gotta say, when I saw it online right before I ordered it, I took a look at it and I was like, hey, this kind of does look pretty cool, especially when we're comparing it to some of Timex's other really affordable options. My biggest competitor, I would say, to this watch would be the Timex Weekender, right? I kind of compared this to the Timex Weekender in my head before I ordered it. And I actually looked up some of the differences between this Timex chronograph and the Timex Weekender chronograph, and there are some really, really interesting differences. So I want to talk about that in a moment, but first let's take this off of this stand and we'll see how it feels. Alrighty, so it is off of the stand, and the first thing I noticed when I got it in my hands is this incredibly soft strap. So it looks pretty thick when it comes to, you know, the genuine leather that they use, but truthfully, it is actually very, very soft and supple. Now, I don't know the quality of the strap. I don't know how long this will last, but it's actually feeling better than most Seiko leather straps out of the box. So that's pretty cool. Now, if I were to wear this watch every day, I would probably put it on a NATO strap if it is as tough as they say, if it is truly an expedition field chronograph worthy of an overlanding trip in my Jeep? I don't know yet. We're gonna take a look. We're gonna feel this out. One thing that made me laugh is this teaches you how to use a chronograph. So you don't even need to watch my episode, What is a Chronograph? You can just use this sticker. Tells you the subdials, tells you to start it here, stop it here, and then to reset or split here. Very cool. We don't need that though, because I know a thing or two about watches, not to brag. Ooh, we got an engraving E. It's in the game. I don't want to say EA Sports because anybody that respects video games probably hates EA Sports, but that's, you know, a different episode. Probably stands for Expedition 100 meter water resistance rating. That's what I wanted to really harp on. Now, the Timex Weekender, okay, is a Timex you can find at Target. It's a very, very prolific, very common watch for people that kind of just want to wear a watch but don't really care about watches. Here's what's interesting. The Timex Weekender Chronograph is $53.30. And you know, you're getting a mineral crystal and like a 30 meter water resistance rating. This Timex Expedition kind of field watchy chronograph has a 100 meter water resistance rating. Yes, you are getting a mineral crystal still, but a 100 meter water resistance rating with this really cool styling for $47.73. So this is actually the much better purchase, just, you know, from that metric right there. But before I really recommend this watch, I want to take a look at it. So let's go ahead and remove that little thing. I don't even know what you call it, but it keeps the crown pulled out. Okay, so it is moving. This is a quartz movement. Very simple, basic quartz movement. Let's start the chronograph and see how it feels. So one interesting thing is there is a good amount of resistance on the pushers. Again, that's probably adding to the water resistance rating. Can't complain about that. Looks like the chronograph hand is actually matching up with the markers fairly nicely so far. Ooh, does a sweep just like my Seiko SSC 081. I actually really like to see that. So you can start it, you can stop it, and then to reset it, does a very, very satisfying sweep across the dial. I really like that. All right, guys, so before we put the watch on the wrist and before we measure it, people like to hear how I feel about the crown setting and function. That's a big deal. If there's not a distinct crown setting, if the crown is really loose and sloppy, I don't feel confident in it. We can also go ahead and mention that this watch has a 4 o'clock date window, although I think that this date window is done very, very nicely. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a bit. But let's see how the crown feels. We'll go ahead, set the time and date, and yeah, let's see if it's worthy of you know, a confidence instilling water resistance rating. Now, I don't believe the crown is threaded. Okay, 2 very distinct crown settings. That's what I like to see. Yeah, this has a ton of resistance on that push-pull crown. You know, that was my biggest complaint with my Luminox Navy SEAL. The watch is named after one of our naval, you know, military special forces, and it has like almost no resistance on the crown. You'd think it would have a threaded crown, but it doesn't. And then the push-pull crown that it does have, it's really loose, it's sloppy, it'll open up by accident. It's terrible. This has a very nice, tangible, positive feeling crown. Definitely instills confidence. That's what I like to see. Let's go ahead and set the time and date. All right, guys, so now that we know this watch has a nice feeling crown, let's go ahead and set the time and date. It is the 9th. I like setting the date first. I think it's around, yeah, 12:40. I assume the first setting will be for the date complication. Oh, I just learned something. This watch has an independent hour hand, or a jumping hour hand, whatever you want to call it, similar to my Rolex Explorer 2 16570. Looks like you can independently move the hour hand and jump the date either forward or backwards. Let's see. Yep, that's a pretty cool feature actually. So we're gonna go and take it to the 9th. Okay, And so we are at the 9th. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do to make sure we are in the PMs, because again, it is 12:40 p.m., I'm going to pull the crown all the way out, and we are just going to cycle around the clock. 12:40, and right now it's about 12:41. Awesome. That was pretty cool that it has the independent hour hand. I like that. Okay guys, let's go ahead, break out my trusty caliper tool and take some measurements. Now, if there's one thing I noticed while looking at this watch out of the box, it's that it looks a bit big. Now, I'm not saying it's grotesquely big. I don't know if it's just a very visible chronograph. I don't know if it's the fact that it is just simply a chronograph, but it looks like it could wear a bit large on the wrist. Probably not on my wrist because I am a disgusting ape with hairy 7.5-inch wrists, but we're gonna go ahead, take some measurements and confirm that I'm right or that I'm wrong. So let's go ahead, test the diameter first. Now this watch doesn't have any crown guards, so we're gonna fit the caliper tool in between the crown and pusher at the widest point. Looks like this has 42.9 millimeters in diameter. That's fairly reasonable, 42.9. But the largest indicator, or I should say the most accurate indicator of how big or small a watch will wear on your wrist is the lug-to-lug measurement. So let's go ahead, make sure the watch doesn't move. And at the widest point here, 50.9 millimeter lug-to-lug. That confirms my suspicion. This watch will wear large if you have a smaller than a 7.5-inch wrist. It may even wear large on my wrist, but we still have one more measurement to go. Let's see how thick this watch is. The widest point in the center of the dial, 12.4 millimeters thick. All right, so honestly, these aren't terrible measurements. It doesn't seem like it's going to be grotesquely large, but what I will say is that if you have a smaller than a 7.5-inch wrist, this watch will probably wear a bit large on you. Let's go ahead and put it on my 7.5-inch wrist and see if I'm right. All right, the first time I am ever wearing a Timex on this channel, the Timex Expedition Field Chronograph on my 7.5-inch wrist. Now, I don't know if you can tell from this angle, but the lugs are almost on the edges of my wrist. So if you do have a smaller wrist than myself, this watch has the potential to kind of hang off the sides of your wrist, which in my opinion is a bit of a no-no, but you can do whatever you want. I'm just giving you my opinion. Now, the watch is incredibly comfortable. Okay, for a watch for under $50 to have this comfortable of a leather strap, it blows me away, guys. It blows me away. Again, $47.73 on Amazon at the time of filming. Amazon is not a sponsor, although special thank you to my channel members. I cannot buy these watches and film these reviews without you. If you do want to support the channel and go above and beyond, please click that join button next to the subscribe button. It's pretty much YouTube's Patreon. I believe it's $4.99 a month, and all that support does come to the channel. I'm able to buy these watches, buy these products, and do these reviews. So I can't do these without my channel members. So thank you guys. This one is for you. Now, what I will say is, although I absolutely love this strap, this is just begging to be put on a NATO strap or some form of Cordura or sailcloth strap. I want something tactical, something outdoorsy. So let's go ahead and measure the lug width. 20 millimeters on the button. So guys, a 20 millimeter lug width, that is incredibly versatile. You'll find a bunch of straps at a bunch of different price points at that range. You will have no problem finding a strap that you like at the 20 millimeter measurement. So yeah, guys, very, very versatile watch right here. If you want to put it on a Cordura, some form of leather single piece or two-piece strap, you can do it. Okay, so as I've spent some time with this watch, I've taken a look at it, and there's some really cool design cues. We have to have some perspective. This is a sub $50 watch. There's a lot going on here that I actually really like. So the first thing I noticed is that the buckle has an engraving, okay? It's a signed buckle. It has the E Expedition logo. But the dial is really where it's at. Okay, let's look at the date window. I'm typically not a fan of the 4 o'clock date. It's typically not done well. That's not the case with this watch. The date wheel is nicely centered in that 4 o'clock date. There's a little border going on there, which kind of adds to that visibility. Again, with that matte black dial and the black date wheel, if it didn't have a border, it would probably look kind of sloppy, kind of difficult to read, but they chose to take the time and add a little border there, you know, those four corners broken up so that you can really hone in on that date window. Very, very nice design choice. And then the chapter ring. Okay, there are actual cutouts on each marker. Again, that's kind of a stepped dynamic look, something that watches that are expensive, much more expensive than this, don't have. But as I bring you up closer to this watch, I want to share with you my favorite part about this, and it's the hands. Okay, as we can see here, they are skeletonized hands. That is very, very smart and very deliberate on Timex's part, because this is a chronograph, okay? What's the point of having a chronograph if you have big, broad hands that are quite visible, but that cover up the subdials, making the chronograph complication useless? I'm looking at you, Tudor. Okay, Tudor, with their dumb snowflake hands on their Black Bay chronographs, it makes the chronograph complication essentially useless because those stupid snowflake hands cover up the subdials for hours of the day. Okay, this sub $50 Timex is a much better buy and much more functional. 100 meter water resistance rating, some really nice visibility, a nice, neat, and tidy border date window, and again, these skeletonized hands that are still quite visible, still quite bold and broad, but cut out. So look, I can see that 8 right there on that subdial. I can see all the registers. Nothing is broken up, nothing is blurred out or obscured. Everything is very, very visible, and it blows my mind that a $47 watch with some change gets you all this visibility, all this functionality. Incredible. Another thing I'm very fond of when it comes to this Timex chronograph is the use of its own dedicated running seconds. Okay, so some people are very confused. The hand that moves when you use the chronograph complication, or I should say, the hand that moves when you press the chronograph button, that's your chronograph hand. That's not considered your second hand. I love it when my chronographs have running seconds because you can see on this subdial, there's always something moving. So regardless of you using the chronograph complication, when you look at your watch, it just looks more alive, right? There's something always going on, there's something always moving, and that's just a bit more fun. It just makes the watch look a little bit more dynamic. And another thing I'm very fond of when it comes to this watch is the hand they chose for the chronograph complication itself. As you can see, that splash of orange just pops against the darkness of the matte black dial. I love how that orange correlates with the running second hand, and it just seems like visibility and legibility is the name of the game when it comes to this watch. That hand with the fins coming off of it, and again that splash of orange, it just screams, hey, look at me, you need to time something, I'm right here, you don't need to strain your eyes. It's just a very fun, dynamic dial, and again, highly visible. So if you couldn't tell, overall, this watch did change my opinion of these entry-level Timex watches. You don't need to spend over $100 to get a pretty useful, fairly functional, really cool looking watch, but I gotta give you the bad along with the good. So if there is one complaint I have, it's that you definitely can see some tooling marks here when it comes to the finishing on the case. Some areas are worse than others. You know, it's pretty uniform, but it's not the most highly finished case out there. But guys, come on, $47.73. I can live with that. All right, guys, and now it's time for my absolute favorite part of the episode, the lume shot. Timex Indiglo. Come on, do better. Let me burn this up a little bit more. Okay, not the worst I've ever seen, but by far not the best. Okay, so 2 of the registers, the hour hand and the minute hand, are glowing. Not for very long though, and not super vibrantly, so that's another thing they could work on. Yeah, not the best. All right, guys, well, there it is, the Timex Expedition Field Chronograph, a very impressive entry-level watch from Timex that honestly put Timex on the map for me, in my opinion. This changed my idea, my thought, my belief of Timex watches. You can get a really impressive field watch chronograph with a really good complication, again, that chronograph complication, for under $50. Crazy. 100 meter water resistance rating, high visibility, 4 o'clock date window. Really well done, guys, overall. There's only a few things that I would change about the watch. Again, not the best case finishing and not the best lume. That Timex Indiglo could be a bit better. But honestly, we got to keep some perspective here. A sub $50 watch, incredibly impressive. I would honestly wear this watch, but I'm not going to because I'm going to be giving it away to one of you guys. That's right, this is a giveaway. So how do you win this watch? Well, you got to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, obviously. You got to like this episode, and then in the comment section, can you tell me, what are my top 3 favorite video games of all time? I've mentioned them everywhere, okay? I've even mentioned them a lot in the live streams very recently. So let's see who gets the closest. I'm sure some of you will nail it. The first one to get the closest or nail it will win this watch. Good luck, guys. And of course, a very, very special thank you to my channel members. I can't buy these watches and do these reviews without you. If you want to join the channel, I've told you how to do it. Thank you so much, guys. You freaking rock. So guys, please enjoy yourself. Have a good time. It's kind of raining outside in Los Angeles right now. I don't know if the mics are picking it up, but I gotta stay inside anyway right now, so may as well play with some watches, right? Wherever you are, please stay happy, stay blessed, like, comment, and subscribe. Share this with everyone you know. I'm Jory Goodman, the Time Teller. Always remember, I didn't invent time, I just tell it.